Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this right now, I want you to think about your life, your dreams, your goals. Have you been consistent with them? Let me tell you something, consistency is everything. The secret to success, the difference between those who make it and those who don't, lies in one word: consistency. If you're not being consistent, you're not even giving yourself a fighting chance to win. You can have all the talent, all the ideas, and all the resources in the world, but if you don't show up every single day and give it your best, you'll never reach your potential. Now, I know you've probably heard a million times about the importance of consistency. It's the word everyone throws around, but few people understand the true weight of it. Consistency is not about doing something once or twice and expecting it to change your life. It's about showing up day in and day out, even when you don't feel like it, even when it seems impossible. It's not always about grand gestures. It's about the small actions that you take every single day. The truth is, we all have bad days. We all have moments when we feel like giving up. But the difference between those who succeed and those who fall short is the willingness to keep pushing even when the road gets tough. Let's be real here for a second. You know, the hardest part of achieving anything is staying consistent. It's easy to be motivated when you first begin, but what happens when that initial excitement fades? What happens when life throws you curveballs, when the distractions start to pile up, or when you simply don't feel like it anymore? That's when the rubber meets the road. The difference between success and failure is how well you push through that resistance, how well you keep going when every fiber of your being wants to quit. But here's the thing, the key to consistency is discipline. And discipline starts with one simple decision you have to force yourself. Don't wait until you feel like it. Don't wait until the motivation strikes you like lightning. You won't always feel inspired. In fact, more often than not, you won't feel like doing the work. But the decision to be consistent comes from within. It's a choice. The more you force yourself to show up, the easier it becomes. And let me tell you, once you build that habit, once you create that momentum, consistency will start working for you. You'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish when you commit to doing something every single day, even when it's hard. But here's where most people fail. They get discouraged when they don't see results right away. They work hard for a few days, maybe a few weeks, but when they don't see the immediate payoff, they quit. That's where you need to shift your mindset. You need to understand that success is not an overnight thing. It's a slow and steady process. You're building something brick by brick. You might not see the results today, but if you keep showing up, if you keep putting in the work day after day, that success will come. You'll look back one day and realize that all the small steps you took in the past added up to something big. It's time to stop making excuses. It's time to stop waiting for the perfect moment or for the right feelings. It's time to force yourself to be consistent. The rewards are there, but only if you're willing to show up day after day. Your future self will thank you for it. So I'm asking you right now, are you ready to commit? Are you ready to be consistent no matter what? Because when you force yourself to stay in the game, when you force yourself to keep moving forward, that's when you unlock the true power of consistency. And that's when you finally start seeing the life you've always wanted. It's time to get consistent, because that's the only way you're going to win. Consistency is the foundation of all success, and it's often the one thing that separates the winners from the dreamers. It's not about having the most talent or the grandest ideas. It's about showing up every day, no matter how difficult, no matter how discouraged you might feel. Think about it. When you're consistent, you're not giving up. You're not letting the obstacles, the setbacks, or the hard days stop you. You're showing up, doing the work, and giving your best, even when the world seems like it's pushing against you. And over time, that consistent effort compounds into massive results. But that's the key. It doesn't happen overnight. Success doesn't come from doing something big once or twice. It comes from making small, focused actions a daily habit. Too often, we look at the successful people around us and we assume they have some magic formula or secret to their success. We think that they were blessed with talent, luck, or opportunity. But the truth is, They've succeeded because they stayed consistent when the rest of the world was giving up. They didn't wait for the perfect time. They didn't wait for the stars to align. They made the decision to do the work every day, even when it didn't feel easy, even when the payoff wasn't immediate. That's where the magic lies, in the commitment to keep moving forward. You have to make consistency your lifestyle. The power of consistency isn't about having everything figured out. You don't have to know exactly how you're going to reach your destination. You just have to keep taking steps in the right direction. It's about putting in the work day after day, even if it's just a little bit. Some days it's going to feel like you're not making progress at all. But every step, no matter how small, is getting you closer to your goal. It's like walking up a mountain. You might not see the summit from where you are, but every step you take gets you higher. And eventually you'll look up and realize that you've reached the top. The danger lies in inconsistency. We live in a world where instant gratification is everywhere. Social media, fast food, same-day deliveries, everything is available at the touch of a button. But the truth is, real success doesn't work like that. It's not instant. It's earned over time through consistent effort. When you get discouraged because you don't see results immediately, that's when you have to remind yourself that consistency is the key. It's not about how fast you get there. It's about getting there and staying committed to the process no matter how long it takes. Being consistent doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It doesn't mean you won't have days when you want to give up. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy. What it does mean is that regardless of the obstacles, you keep moving forward. You might have to adjust your approach along the way, but you don't stop. You don't give up. You stay the course and you keep showing up. If you can learn to stay consistent, you will see your life change in ways you never imagined. Success, personal growth, financial independence, all of these things are built on the simple principle of showing up every day. The only way you'll ever reach your dreams is if you stay committed to the process. No excuses, no shortcuts, just consistent effort. The results will come, and they will be worth every single moment you've put into it. Stay consistent. Keep pushing. Your success is on the other side of your persistence. Understanding why you struggle with consistency is crucial if you ever want to break free from it. It's not that you don't have the potential or the drive to succeed. It's often a lack of a clear plan or vision, which can leave you feeling lost or aimless when things get tough. When we lack clarity about what we're working toward, we start to lose motivation, and without motivation, consistency becomes impossible. It's like setting out on a road trip without a map or GPS. Sure, you may start out strong, but eventually you'll lose your way, you'll get tired, and you'll find yourself wondering if it's even worth continuing. Without a clear destination, every detour becomes a valid excuse to stop. Another major reason we struggle with consistency is fear. We are afraid to fail, to make mistakes, to mess things up, and that fear paralyzes us. When you're afraid of failure, it becomes easier to quit before you even start, or to take shortcuts when things get hard. But that's exactly what inconsistency thrives on: fear and self-doubt. You start doubting yourself when things don't go as planned, and instead of pushing through, you give up. Fear can also make you overly focused on the wrong things, focusing too much on the end result instead of the daily process. The result, no matter how much you want it, will come only when you've consistently done the work. The next reason why consistency can be tough is lack of discipline. We live in a world of distractions. Social media, TV, video games, and even well-meaning friends and family can pull us away from the things that matter. It's easy to get sidetracked thinking we'll just take a break, and suddenly hours have passed and your productivity is down the drain. Lack of discipline leads to inconsistency, because when you don't control your time controls you. Without discipline, everything becomes a priority except what actually matters. The key to overcoming this is learning how to structure your day and prioritize what's important. Consistency is rooted in the ability to say no to the things that distract you and say yes to the things that will help you reach your goals. Sometimes you struggle with consistency because you haven't set up a solid routine. A routine takes the thinking out of the process. When you make consistency a habit, it becomes automatic. But if you don't have a solid routine, you waste mental energy deciding what to do next. The fewer decisions you have to make, the less chance there is for procrastination or distractions to creep in. Establishing a strong routine allows you to focus on what really matters, the work itself. Another underlying issue is impatience. We live in a society that wants things now, instant results, instant success. But success doesn't happen that quickly. It requires time, and that time is made up of small, consistent actions. The impatience makes you give up before you see the payoff. You might work hard for a week, a month, and then wonder why you're not seeing results. But success isn't about getting everything immediately. It's about consistently doing the right things until your work starts to show. If you learn to trust the process, to understand that the work will pay off, you'll find that consistency becomes much easier. Lastly, lack of accountability is another factor. When you're working alone without someone to hold you accountable, it's easy to get off track. If there's no one to check in on your progress or remind you of your goals, it's easy to let things slide. Having someone, whether it's a mentor, friend, or even a group of people who checks in on your consistency helps keep you in line. When you know someone is relying on you or someone else knows your goals, it forces you to show up even when you don't want to. These factors, fear, lack of discipline, impatience, no routine, and no accountability, are all things that stop you from being consistent. But by recognizing these patterns, you can begin to address them one by one. Start small, set clear goals. Develop routines, hold yourself accountable, and understand that the process will take time. Once you tackle the underlying causes of your inconsistency, you'll find yourself building a powerful habit that leads you to success. If you're struggling to stay consistent, one of the first things you have to do is identify your why, the reason you want to succeed in the first place. Your why is the driving force behind your actions. Without it, it's easy to lose motivation and fall off track. When you know exactly why you're doing something, every step you take, no matter how small, feels purposeful. It gives you the energy to keep going, especially on the tough days when quitting feels like the easier option. Your why should be powerful enough to get you out of bed every morning, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Your why is personal to you. It could be the desire to provide a better life for your family, to achieve financial freedom, to be a role model, or simply to prove to yourself that you're capable of reaching your goals. Whatever it is, your why needs to be strong enough to fuel your motivation on those days when your mind starts telling you to quit. When the journey gets hard, your why is the thing that will push you forward. It's the reason you started, and it should be the thing you hold on to when the road gets bumpy. The next step to building consistency is to create a plan of action. Without a clear plan, you're more likely to get overwhelmed and distracted. A plan gives you structure, and structure creates consistency. When you know exactly what needs to be done each day, it's much easier to take action and stay on track. A clear plan also helps you break down big goals into smaller, manageable tasks. Instead of focusing on the whole mountain, you can focus on one step at a time. This makes the process feel less daunting and more achievable. Your plan should have specific, measurable goals. Don't just say, I want to get fit or I want to be successful. That's too vague and it doesn't give you a clear direction. Instead, set goals that are specific, like, I will work out for 30 minutes every day. Or I will read one book every month. By making your goals specific and measurable, you create a framework that allows you to track your progress. And when you see progress, it motivates you to keep going. Equally important is the need for routine. Consistency thrives on routine because it removes the guesswork from your day. When your actions become habitual, it no longer takes significant effort to stay consistent. You wake up at the same time every day, you do the same things at the same times, and it becomes part of who you are. Your routine is your foundation, and it helps you stay anchored when life gets chaotic. Routines also give you the energy to keep going even when you're not feeling your best. When it's automatic, you don't need to rely on motivation or willpower. You simply do what needs to be done. Consistency isn't about doing something once or twice and expecting immediate results. It's about doing it day in and day out, no matter how you feel or what's going on around you. You're building habits that will last a lifetime. And let's be honest, the journey is going to be hard. You're going to face setbacks. You're going to face moments of doubt. But when your why is clear, when you have a solid plan, and when you've built routines that work for you, you'll find that consistency becomes much easier to maintain. So take a moment to really think about your why. Why do you want to be consistent? What's the driving force that's going to keep you going when you feel like quitting? Once you have that in mind, build a clear plan, develop routines, and stick with it. The results may not come overnight, but if you stay consistent, you'll get to where you want to be, and that's a promise. Staying consistent can be incredibly challenging when you are constantly distracted. In the world we live in today, distractions are everywhere. Whether it's social media, notifications on your phone, television, or even people around you, there's always something that can pull your attention away from what you need to be doing. If you're not careful, these distractions can completely derail your efforts and prevent you from staying on track. That's why learning how to manage distractions is crucial if you want to be successful and stay consistent in the long run. The first step in managing distractions is identifying them. Most of the time, distractions don't just appear out of nowhere. They're often things we allow to take our attention. Social media, for instance, is one of the biggest distractions in our modern world. It's easy to start scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, and before you know it, an hour has passed. The same goes for checking your email or watching random YouTube videos. These distractions steal valuable time that you could be using to work on your goals. Once you identify what distracts you the most, you can take action to eliminate or reduce those distractions. One effective strategy to manage distractions is setting boundaries. Set clear limits on when you will engage with things like social media or other distractions. For example, you could decide that you'll only check your phone during specific times of the day, such as during lunch or after you've completed a certain task. By setting these boundaries, you're giving yourself permission to focus on your goals without constantly being pulled in different directions. Another technique to manage distractions is to create a focused environment. If you're working from home, it can be especially challenging to stay focused with everything happening around you. To combat this, you need to set up a space that is conducive to concentration. This could mean turning off the TV, finding a quiet room, or even using noise-canceling headphones. It's also important to clear your workspace from unnecessary clutter, as it can be distracting and prevent you from staying on task. A clean and organized workspace sends a signal to your brain that it's time to focus and get to work. You also need to practice saying no. Often we find ourselves saying yes to things that we don't have the time or energy for, and this can take away from the time we need to focus on our goals. Learning to say no when you're stretched too thin is a skill that will help you stay focused. By saying no to things that don't serve your purpose, you create more time for what truly matters. It's important to realize that you can't do everything, and that's okay. Your time and energy are limited. So it's essential to prioritize the tasks that will move you forward. The next crucial aspect of managing distractions is knowing when to take breaks. Ironically, sometimes the best way to stay consistent is to step away from your work for a brief moment. Overworking yourself leads to burnout, and when you're burned out, distractions become even more difficult to avoid. Breaks help recharge your energy and give you a fresh perspective on your work, but breaks need to be intentional. If you use breaks as an excuse to procrastinate or engage in distractions, then they're not serving their purpose. Instead, take short, focused breaks such as a 5-minute walk or a few minutes of stretching, and then return to your work with a renewed sense of focus. Lastly, accountability plays a key role in managing distractions. When you have someone to check in with, whether it's a mentor, friend, or colleague, it becomes harder to allow distractions to completely take over. Knowing that someone else is counting on you to stay on track can push you to stay focused. Regular check-ins help keep you accountable and provide motivation to stay consistent, even when distractions are tempting. Managing distractions is all about creating an environment that supports your goals. It's about identifying what takes your attention away and then implementing strategies to minimize those distractions. Once you learn how to handle distractions, you'll find it much easier to stay consistent, and over time, your productivity will improve. Distractions will always be there, but with the right strategies in place, you'll be able to push past them and keep moving toward your goals. One of the most critical aspects of being consistent is developing a mindset that doesn't crumble in the face of setbacks. It's easy to stay committed when everything is going smoothly, but what happens when life throws you a curveball? When things don't go according to plan, when obstacles appear, when failure seems inevitable, that's when true consistency is tested. The ability to overcome failure and keep going is not just about willpower, it's about resilience. Resilience is the mental and emotional toughness to keep moving forward even when things get tough. It's the foundation that allows you to bounce back from failure, learn from mistakes, and stay focused on the end goal. Resilience begins with understanding that failure is not the end. Too many people see failure as the finish line, but in reality, it's just a lesson on the path to success. You're not going to get everything right on the first try, and that's okay. In fact, most successful people have faced multiple failures before reaching their goals. They didn't give up. They didn't quit. They got back up and kept going. This mindset shift is crucial. You have to understand that every setback is an opportunity to grow, to improve, and to get closer to your goal. The key is to learn from your mistakes, adjust your approach, and keep moving forward. It's also essential to remember that consistency doesn't mean perfection. There will be days when you feel like you're not making progress. You might miss a workout, skip a day of studying, or fall short of a deadline. That's okay. The mistake many people make is letting one small slip-up derail everything. They think, I messed up today, so I failed, but that's not the case. Perfection is impossible, and consistency doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to keep trying, even when you fall short. The key is getting back on track as quickly as possible. A setback is just a moment in time, not a reflection of your overall progress. In addition to this, self-compassion plays a huge role in building resilience. When you're working towards a goal and things don't go as planned, it's easy to be hard on yourself. But beating yourself up for a mistake doesn't help you move forward. It's important to practice self-compassion, to forgive yourself for any missteps, and to use those moments as fuel to keep going. Self-compassion doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook. It means being kind to yourself in the face of failure and giving yourself the grace to start again without guilt or shame. Resilience also means developing the ability to stay focused, even in the face of distractions or discouragement. When things get hard, you have to remind yourself why you started in the first place. Reconnecting with your why can give you the motivation you need to keep pushing forward, even when the road seems long or difficult. It's also important to surround yourself with people who support your goals. A strong support system can make all the difference when you're facing challenges. Having someone who believes in you, even when you're doubting yourself, helps you stay resilient. Lastly, resilience is about maintaining perspective. When you face setbacks, it's easy to focus on the negative, to get discouraged, and to lose sight of your long-term goals. But staying consistent means reminding yourself that success is a marathon, not a sprint. The bumps in the road are just part of the process. The bigger picture is your progress, your growth, and your ability to keep moving forward, no matter how many times you stumble. In the end, consistency isn't about never failing, it's about how you respond to failure. It's about having the resilience to keep going, even when things don't go as planned. When you develop a resilient mindset, setbacks become just another part of the journey. You learn, adapt, and come back even stronger. With this kind of resilience, you can face any obstacle, overcome any challenge, and stay consistent on the path to your dreams. Consistency often requires a level of discipline that many overlook when they set out on their journey toward a goal. Discipline is the ability to stick to your plan, to make the right choices even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. It's about mastering your impulses and staying committed to what matters, even when distractions or temptations arise. Without discipline, consistency becomes almost impossible. We all have moments where we want to quit, take shortcuts, or indulge in something that feels good in the moment but doesn't serve our long-term goals. But it's in those moments that discipline makes all the difference. It's what keeps you from giving in to instant gratification and helps you stay focused on the bigger picture. Discipline is the foundation for all successful habits. It doesn't matter how motivated you are or how strong your desires are if you don't have the discipline to follow through. Think about it like this: motivation can be fleeting. It comes and goes depending on how you're feeling or what's happening around you, but discipline is something you create and cultivate, and it doesn't rely on how you feel. It's about doing the right thing consistently, regardless of the circumstances. This means getting up early even when you're tired, sticking to your workout routine even when you'd rather stay in bed, or putting in the work on your project even when no one else is watching. Discipline means staying in the game when you don't feel like playing anymore. A critical part of building discipline is setting clear, specific goals. When you know exactly what you want to achieve, it becomes easier to stay disciplined because you have a clear target. It's like setting a destination on a GPS without knowing where you're headed. It's easy to get lost or distracted. But when you have that clear vision of where you're going, it becomes much easier to stay on track. These goals don't have to be huge or overwhelming, but they should be specific enough to guide your daily actions. And as you hit those smaller goals, they build momentum and drive you forward. Another important aspect of discipline is creating a routine. Successful people don't leave things to chance. They create systems that make it easy for them to stay disciplined. If you wait until the day starts to figure out what you should do, you'll probably waste time or get distracted. A routine takes the guesswork out of the equation. It's like creating a blueprint for your day. When you know exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, and how you're going to do it, staying disciplined becomes much easier. This routine should include not just the work you need to do, but also time for rest, recovery, and personal growth. Balance is key to maintaining discipline over the long haul. There's also an element of accountability when it comes to discipline. Sometimes we let ourselves slide because no one is watching. But when you have someone holding you accountable, whether it's a mentor, a coach, or a friend, it's much harder to give in to temptation or excuses. Knowing that someone else is invested in your progress pushes you to stay disciplined even when you'd rather quit. You don't want to let them down, so you push through and stick to your commitments. Accountability adds a layer of responsibility that keeps you disciplined. Perhaps the most important part of discipline is understanding that it's a choice. Every day you're faced with decisions, and each decision is an opportunity to strengthen or weaken your discipline. You can choose to stay focused and stick to your plan, or you can let yourself fall into the trap of excuses and distractions. It's not easy and it's not always fun, but the more you choose discipline over indulgence, the stronger it becomes. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes second nature. Discipline becomes a habit, and consistency becomes the result. In the end, discipline is the key that unlocks the door to success. It's what helps you stay committed to your goals, even when the road gets tough. When you build discipline, you build the foundation for consistency. And when you stay consistent, you're able to achieve things that once seemed impossible. It's about making the right choice, day in and day out, until those choices add up to extraordinary results.